Ex-Detroit mayor, I tried to beat up my lawyer before trial, he ran around a table. In his latest effort to vacate his 28-year prison sentence, ex-Detroit Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick is throwing another punch at his former attorney, this time claiming he tried to beat up his lawyer right before jury selection over a disagreement. But the attorney, Kilpatrick claims in a court filing, ran around a conference table, threatened to call police and have him locked up for the duration of the trial. The story, detailed in a 38-page filing in U.S. District Court, aims to bolster Kilpatrick's longtime argument that he was wrongfully convicted of multiple corruption crimes because, in part, he was forced to go to trial with an attorney he had lost trust in and didn't want. To date, Kilpatrick has lost all his appeals and the U.S. Supreme Court this year declined to hear his case. But Kilpatrick isn't giving up. Under the law, he's allowed one more year following the High Court's rejection to raise new appellate issues. So he's going back to U.S. District Judge Nancy Edmonds, who oversaw his trial and sentenced him, and asking her to consider what he claims was a heated feud between him and his lawyer James Thomas. He says the argument, which was about whether Thomas should withdraw from the case over a conflict of interest, went down on August 14, 2012. Jury selection proceedings had already begun. After leaving the court, Kilpatrick and his attorney are involved in a heated quarrel, with bad language, threats and counter-threats. Kilpatrick moves to physically harm trial counsel. Trial counsel runs around the conference table in his office and threatens to call the police. Trial counsel tells Kilpatrick, "I'll have you thrown in jail for the rest of the trial," Kilpatrick writes in his filing, stressing there was a complete breakdown of trust and communication between him and his lawyer. Former Detroit mayor sentenced to 28 years in prison. Obama pardons record number, but not Kwame Kilpatrick. Thomas, who represented Kilpatrick during the text message scandal and the federal racketeering trial, said no such incident took place. "We had a disagreement over whether I was going to have to withdraw as his lawyer. Nobody chased anybody around the table," said Thomas, noting that he ultimately did ask to withdraw from the case, but the judge denied the request. Kilpatrick's appeal has focused heavily on Thomas, whom Kilpatrick tried to get thrown off the case citing a conflict of interest. Thomas and his associate were working for a law firm that was suing Kilpatrick over the same alleged crimes on which Thomas was defending him. That lawsuit involved a witness, towing contractor Gasper Fiore, who was to testify against Kilpatrick about alleged extortion claims. But prosecutors agreed to drop Fiore from the case to avoid any problems. Edmonds, meanwhile, concluded that Thomas had been a good and effective lawyer to Kilpatrick, and denied his request to withdraw from the case. She also noted that Thomas was Kilpatrick's attorney of choice, and that he had once professed his love for him. "When Mr. Kilpatrick ran out of money, he asked me to appoint Mr. Thomas, which I did," Edmonds said in court, reminding Kilpatrick that at a recent meeting in her chambers, when a conflict of interest issue was being discussed, "The first thing out of your mouth was how much you love Mr. Thomas." Kilpatrick responded, "I do love Mr. Thomas. I never said I trusted him." How corruption deepened Detroit's crisis. Thomas represented Kilpatrick throughout the 6-month trial that ended with Kilpatrick getting convicted in March 2013 on 24 counts for crimes including racketeering, extortion and bribery. 2 months after the guilty verdict, Kilpatrick officially dumped Thomas, telling Edmonds that a grave error occurred in his case and that he needed a new lawyer. Thomas agreed that it was time for him to step down. Edmonds appointed defense attorney Harold Gurewitz to handle Kilpatrick's appeal, which has also raised the following issues. Kilpatrick claims the judge erred in allowing 2 FBI agents to offer their opinions to jurors about what Kilpatrick's and others' text messages meant and how texts and phone calls showed the ex-mayor was involved in crooked contracts. The nearly $4.7 million he was ordered to pay in restitution was not authorized under federal law. The prosecution, meanwhile, has long scoffed at all of Kilpatrick's arguments, saying his claim that his lawyer hurt his case is hogwash. He cannot show that, absent the alleged attorney conflict, the result of his trial would have been different, prosecutors have argued in court documents.